Peter Skoronski was the 11th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, and after watching this guy's rookie tape, I think Peter Skoronski is one of the top 6 or 7 left guards in the NFL. Skoronski showed so much upside on tape last season, and he had a ton of winning reps. And today we're going to analyze his tape. We're going to analyze what this guy showed and why I think he's a very, very, very solid football player. And we're going to get right into it with his technique. One of the things you're going to see with Skoronski on tape is the guy has phenomenal technique. When it comes to reach blocking, when it comes to backside blocking, when it comes to getting out in front of people, or taking the proper angles, the footwork, everything about it is really, really impressive. So on this play here, Skoronski has a pretty simple reach on a 3 technique. And you're going to see him do a great job getting out of his stance. Really nice footwork. Ends up getting his helmet to the left side of that defensive lineman. And from there, he just slowly shifts his hips and ends up getting to the front side of the defensive lineman. So by Skoronski being able to reach this defensive lineman, that's going to allow Derrick Henry, the running back, to hit the lane. And on this one here, the running back picks up 8 yards, and this is 100% because of Skoronski. But there are so many great snaps like this on tape where he does a phenomenal job reaching and cutting guys off. Here's another one. You're going to get an 18-yard touchdown on this one. Once again, it's the 3 technique that he has to reach. This 3 technique here does do a little bit of a better job initially. And then Henry does a phenomenal job faking to the inside. And keep in mind, Skoronski's responsibility on this entire play is to get out in front of number 94. He needs to hook him off. So as the running back gets the ball in this wide zone here, he's going to fake towards the inside before cutting it back towards the left. And you'll see how that's going to impact both the 3 technique and the linebacker here. And with that, Skoronski's going to be able to reach, right? So Skoronski does a great job being able to fight through this. Although the 3 technique here is trying to not allow Skoronski to reach, you're going to see the guard ends up getting there, right? So Henry does a great job initially faking it back to the inside before cutting it back to the outside. You can see how that influences both the linebacker and the 3 technique, with Skoronski obviously trying to reach. And this one, of course, goes for an 18-yard touchdown. And this is something that Skoronski shows on tape over and over and over again. When it comes to wide zone, inside zone, or any other type of zone plays, Skoronski does a really, really good job. The guy has phenomenal footwork. He's quick. He's explosive out of his stance. And he does a great job fighting through to make sure he's able to get out in front of people. Now you got another really nice zone run here by Skoronski. This time, as opposed to a front side reach where the running backs can actually run to that side, he's going to have a backside reach block. So this time he's going to have to reach on the backside of this zone run towards the right of the formation. Now, if you guys keep an eye on Skoronski, once again, he's going to do a really good job reaching the 1 technique. He's going to flip the hips, get right in front of it. This one picks up about 7.5 yards. One of the things I would say that Skoronski's biggest asset is his run blocking, specifically when it comes to being able to reach and get out in front of people. And I think the Tennessee Titans ran so much zone last year. And I think that was one of the reasons why Skoronski had so much success. Now, what's interesting about the Titans is they obviously went out. They brought in Bill Callahan, and I think Bill Callahan is arguably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Between Callahan and Stoutland, you probably have 2 of the best offensive lines in the NFL, at least last season. Right? The Browns were one of the best offensive lines, very, very well coached. Of course, the Eagles with Jeff Stoutland, very well coached. But now the Titans are getting arguably one of the top 2 offensive line coaches in the NFL. So I'm actually really excited to see how much Bill Callahan can actually continue to improve Peter Skoronski. Because this guy's biggest asset is his ability to reach, right? It's the quickness he plays with. And don't get me wrong, the guy's a very, very good processor. He's very strong, but he can continue to develop, and he did have some losing snaps last year, and there's a common theme with that, but of course we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I want to take a second to talk a little bit about Peter Skoronski's ability to recover. On this play here, you're going to see the defensive tackle lineup in the 3 technique is going to slant to the inside, and the defense is actually going to run a run stunt. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to take their 3 technique here. They're going to cross them to the inside. And then they'll get these linebackers and these defensive linemen to come across and run this run stunt. Now, the interesting thing with this play is because it's an inside zone to the right, what ends up happening is because number 97 is slanting to the inside, and because Skoronski is taking a step to the opposite side of where this defensive lineman is slanting. So Skoronski steps right, the defensive lineman steps left. So Skoronski now has to recover within this rep, because defense lineman's going to go to the inside. And he does a great job being able to do that. He gets his hands on number 97. 97's trying to swim over the top. Skoronski does a great job recovering and just readjusting his aiming point within this run. And he ends up shutting this down. This is a really, really nice shot. Just stay attached to the defensive tackle. Do not allow the defensive tackle to be able to get over the top. Honestly, if the running back saw this a little bit better, I think this could have been a big play. And this is a hard thing to do, obviously. But if you guys look at the whole kind of opening up, You guys can see it. You can see the center is pushing out the defensive tackle right here. You can see Skoronski's to his guy here. To me, the lane would have developed right there, but not a big deal. Obviously, he had a rookie running back in Tajay Spears at this point. But again, just a really good job by Skoronski to process during the live play and be able to just stick to the defensive tackle. You got one more backside reach block here by Skoronski. He's going to have to get out in front of the one technique here. And he's going to do a great job getting right in front of it. Just a really, really nice job. And this one's obviously a touchdown. It's a 1-yard touchdown. But I love the fact that Skoronski is able to get out in front of guys, even if he has to give up some depth. One of the things you can do if you're the backside guy is you can give up depth. You can get pushed back 3, 4, 5 yards. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're able to get out in front of this guy and you're able to get to your backside seal, to me, that's a winning rep. So again, great job by Skoronski to be able to do this on the backside of this zone run. And of course, ends up being a touchdown. Let's go ahead and get to the next snap. Now, when it comes to run blocking, another thing that Skoronski does a really good job at is double teaming and then climbing to the second level. So there's a lot of snaps like this where he's able to help either the center or tackle, and then he ends up climbing and he ends up picking off the linebacker. You got a very good linebacker here, and Skoronski has to make sure that this 2-eye technique is able to be reached by the center. And in order to do that, he has to make contact with him, and then he has to climb up to the linebacker. And this is a big strength that Skoronski also has. So you'll see this play a ton on tape, where he does a good job right out of his stance. He's quick, he's explosive, he makes contact, he gets the hands on the left shoulder pad of this defensive lineman. That's going to allow the center to overtake it. And then from there, as the center overtakes that block, of course with the help of Skoronski, Skoronski ends up getting to the next level, and he does a great job himself. This play right here picks up about 10 yards. Again, a really, really good job by Skoronski, and definitely a strength by him. Being able to double team and then climb to that next level is one of the things this guy has shown on tape over and over and over again. It's one of those things that I really like when it comes to Skoronski, and just the ability to move and climb. And it's a part of what makes this guy such an elite run blocker. Skoronski is one of those guys that can do multiple things, right? He can reach block on front and backside blocks. He can double and climb. He can scoop and climb. The guy can do so many different things, and it's a part of what makes this guy a truly elite football player. Now, of course, some people might not agree that Skoronski's an elite player yet, but I think based off of the flashes, by the end of this season, Skoronski's definitely going to become an elite player. I think he's definitely going to get the credit that he deserves as we go forward. But I do want to switch focus, and I do want to talk a little bit about this pass blocking, because I think that's one area where, although the guy's very, very, very solid, there are a couple of things he can work on. Now, as a general pass blocker, Skoronski's a pretty solid football player in pass pro. However, before we fully get into that, I want to take a second to talk about the best way to play fantasy football games, and that is through the sponsor of this channel, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest way to get some fantasy football action. It's as simple as finding your favorite players, picking higher or lower on that player's stats. You basically just have to pick 2 to 5 players and you can 20x your money. And Underdog is giving you a free pick if you sign up now, so make sure you check out the link down below. Now, with that being stated, let's just get right back into Peter Skoronski's pass pro. He does have to get stronger. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But one of the things he does do well, and one of the things you see in his run blocking, is that he moves really well. And that movement also translates into pass pro. And here's a great example of you being able to kind of see that. So on this one here, he's going to step down as he makes contact with his defensive lineman. The defensive lineman's trying to get over the top, and you see Skoronski just straight up mirror the defensive lineman. He stays once again attached to this defensive lineman. We saw that play earlier against the Texans where the defensive tackle tried to cross his face, and he did a great job recovering with his footwork. This one's very similar once again, although he doesn't lose this rep at all. And the defensive lineman never ends up getting in front of it. But once again, you know, Skoronski just stays right in front of this defensive lineman. And to me, this is one of the things Skoronski does. He does a really good job at in pass pro. You got another one here where he's going to do the same exact thing. On this one, he's going to step out. He's going to get his hands on the defensive tackle. And the defensive tackle is going to try to hit Skoronski with an inside move. And once again, Skoronski's going to just reshift the feet and just stick right in front of this guy. Really good job with the movement. Really good job staying attached. One of the things Peter Skoronski does a good job at in pass pro is using his hands. And I think if you want to be a good pass blocker, you got to be able to use your hands. You got to be able to make contact with these guys out of your stance. You got to be able to connect and make sure you're latched on properly. He does do a good job with the left hand landing to the shoulder pad. The right hand lands to the inside. I think that's always the way to pass block if you're a left guard. So again, just a good job right there by Skoronski to get the hands in the correct spot. And this one right here ends up going for 10 yards. Let's go ahead and get to the next step. Generally speaking, Skoronski does a pretty good job anchoring down. He does a pretty good job handling power. He does have trouble sometimes with that. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I do like Skoronski's general ability to get his hands on a guy and to anchor down, right? I think it works the way he ultimately ends up making contact. So again, you're going to see the left hand land high on the shoulder pad. You'll see the right hand come underneath on the chest plate. So here it is. Left hand lands up high. Right hand can't really see it, but it's on the inside on the chest plate. And I think that's the exact way you want to win. And Skoronski's very consistent with his hands, and I think it's part of what allows him to have success. Now, I do want to switch focus and get into some of the losing snaps, because one of the things you're going to notice with Skoronski's losing snaps is they all come in a general form where it's about the same way how he loses, right? So last year he gave up 5 sacks and he gave up, I think, about 6 to 7 quarterback hits. One of the things you're going to notice is when guys run either stunts or games and they have a long runway, or in this instance, as number 94 is going to slant towards the right, he's going to kind of get that speed behind his pads as he makes contact with Skoronski. Skoronski's not going to be able to handle the power. 94 already has that runway, so he's able to gain momentum, and Skoronski's not able to fully anchor down. Right? And the quarterback ends up getting pressured a little bit. Now, it's not a terrible job because Skoronski does do a good job staying low, and it does allow him to have a lot of success. He does always stay low. He always stays consistent with the hands. But I think he needs to get a little bit stronger, and I think that's going to allow him to become a truly elite NFL offensive guard. As Skoronski continues to add power, and as long as he's able to keep the same quickness, I think it's going to allow him to have more success as he goes forward. Now, this one here is going to be some more pressure to the quarterback. This one, once again, if you guys notice, number 92 is going to have a little bit of a longer runway. So some people will say number 92 is in the 4-eye technique, which is the inside shoulder of the tackle. To me, this is just the long 3 technique, because we know 95's coming, we know 92's coming, and we know 78, 77 are going to be responsible for those 2 guys. So we know Skoronski's going to be in a one-on-one against number 92. Now, within this play, Skoronski understands what's coming, and he tries to get out in front of it, right? He gets in the 45-degree set. I think Skoronski could have done things a little bit differently, and I do think this is another thing he can work on. And that's just to really change up those pass sets. You know, on this one here, Skoronski's going to set up in the 45-degree set. And it's okay if you want to do the 45-degree set, but to me, sometimes to change it up would be nice as well. As opposed to taking that 45-degree set, I'd like to see Skoronski take the fight to this defensive lineman, you know, shut down some of that distance between him and that guy. Because ultimately what happens on this play is number 92 has a runway. He's able to build that momentum. And within this play, he ends up getting underneath Skoronski, and Skoronski's just not able to recover within that. Right? And you can see number 92 ends up getting to the quarterback. Quarterback does a good job getting away from the pressure. He picks up 3 yards. But this was 3rd and 8. This was a play where you want to ultimately pass the football as to only picking up 3 yards. Now, of course, as I said, sometimes I want to see Skoronski change up those sets. Sometimes I want him to be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe go right at the defensive lineman. So here's one where he does go at the defensive lineman, but he's going to lose this snap. So if you're going to go at a guy, you're giving up your inside, right? You're giving up that a guy might be able to shoot the inside gap. So with this is something I need him to work on. And I'm sure going from year 1 to year 2, this is going to be a lot easier for him to do because he did this in college a lot. Right? Being a tackle versus guard is a completely different position. So I think Skoronski has to just kind of get used to the idea of being a guard and how the, changing your pass sets kind of works from the inside. So I do fully expect him to get a lot better at this. But again, on this play, as you guys see, he's going to quickly get out of his stance. He's going to quickly set up. The defense tackle slants to the inside. And Skoronski's not able to recover within this one, right? So this is just something he has to continue to work on. It's something he has to continue to develop. And then, of course, I need this guy to process specifically in pass pro a little bit better. I think one of the things I noticed this past season was teams would, either delay blitz or they'd bring guys off the edge, and Skoronski just wasn't quick enough to react. And I do understand that being a tackle in college and then being a guard in the NFL, your vision does change a little bit, right? When you're out here on an island, you see more than when you're on the inside. So on this play here, as you're going to see a corner ends up coming late. Left tackle ends up taking the cornerback, which means Skoronski has to get to Josh Allen here, the defensive end. And Skoronski's going to just be a second late. And the defensive end's going to pressure the quarterback and get a hit on the quarterback. Now on this one here, Skoronski's going to have a 3 technique defensive tackle. That 3 technique is going to slant to the inside. And then number 31 is also going to end up coming. And you're going to see Skoronski's just going to be a second slow to get to number 31. And 31 is going to be able to get past him and he's going to get to the quarterback. All right, so just a little bit faster when it comes to processing, just a little bit quicker to get to his spot. You got one more here. This time they're going to run a defensive line game, and he's going to just be a second slow to pick it up, and he's not going to be able to get to it. And the quarterback ends up taking a hit. So again, just a little bit more improvement from Skoronski in that end. But overall, I think Peter Skoronski is a very, very good football player, and I do truly expect this guy to become one of the top 5 to 7 guards in the NFL, probably within the next 2 years. And by the end of this season, I think he's going to become a top 5 to 7 left guard specifically. Peter Skoronski shows all the upside that you want to see in a guard. The guy's a phenomenal football player, very smart, very excited to watch this guy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider subscribing. We'll definitely be covering the Tennessee Titans this season. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.